That ought to get you ready for football season, at least for training camp. Some new faces on this Dallas defense. Bill Jones now joined by Nicole Hutchison. Going to talk about three of the new faces. One of them a very familiar face to Cowboys fans. He happens to be back here, but they're in new threads, looking to make a new impact in the NFL. And we start at the linebacker position, the former Chicago Bear, Jack Sanborn.
Yeah, that's a guy I've got my eyes on, Bill, just because of the fact that when he looks good in OTAs, of course, you can't really judge a guy right now because they're not in full pads, but he does look good. He's been a good communicator as well and kind of taken on that a little bit of a leadership role from what I've seen so far. But like you mentioned, he's an Eberflus guy, so he knows the system, he knows the expectations, and he knows his assignments. He also brings that versatility of playing both Mike and Will. That's something that you obviously need without no timeline on when DeMarvion Overshown will be back. And here's a good thing. He kind of brings that DeMarvion Overshown nut behavior, I like to joke around and say, because he's literally everywhere all over the field. He also is able to diagnose plays very well. That's something that Eberflus looks out of his linebackers. But I'm excited for him. He's a guy that brings that blue-collar mentality, that no-nonsense mentality as well. I'm excited about a guy like Jack.
He was an undrafted guy out of Wisconsin, but made 19 starts the last 3 years under Eberflus at Chicago, and of course with Kenneth Murray at the linebacker position, another new face. Let's go to the front seven now, though, and here is the familiar face, and it is Dante Fowler, back after a double-digit sack season in Washington.
Yeah, Dante's another guy that I'm looking forward to. I mean, obviously didn't get a lot of opportunities in Dallas in 2022 and 2023. Played 7% of the snaps in 22, 24% in 2023, but that obviously that high number went up to 47% in Washington. And you see what he was able to do in Washington, had his second best career in terms of sacks and percentage, but he also had 2 forced fumbles, an interception return for a touchdown, so he's very disruptive. This is someone who I talked to actually one-on-one in locker room this week, and he said that something that's helped him is that he's matured in the way that he thinks on the field. He's not trying to over-pursue in terms of his pass rushing, things like that. So this is someone who obviously loves to play in this type of system. He thrives in this type of system of where they can just go out there and play football, something that Solomon Thomas even mentioned. I know we're going to talk about him next.
Yeah, and I by the way, I like Dante Fowler wearing the number 3 because once upon a time he was the number 3 pick in the entire draft. Now, Solomon Thomas. Here's a guy that I've been watching ever since he played at Coppell High School. I love the fact that he's going from being a Coppell Cowboy about a decade ago to being a Dallas Cowboy now.
Yeah, and let's just talk about the way that he is built. He's literally built like the Hulk. Okay, I passed by him and I was like, wow, like, my goodness, you're actually huge. But no, he has some athletic ability. He's very speedy as well. Got a chance to talk to guys in the locker room like Dante, Marshawn Nealon, and Mozzie Smith, and I said, you know, what's it like playing alongside a guy like Solomon? They said, man, we're sometimes just coming off the ball and he's already 5-10 yards in front of us. So that's something that you're obviously looking for out of that 3-tech position. You know, Oso Digizua didn't really have much of a relief last year, played the second highest most snaps amongst any interior defender in 2024. And when you look at the numbers on this roster, he was the only defensive tackle to have double-digit pressures. So you need some help. Solomon, I think, will be the guy, Bill.
Yep, and another guy who was the 3rd pick in the draft back in 2017, but since Dante had number 3, he's going with his more traditional number 90. Love to see Solomon Thomas as a Dallas Cowboy. Love to see Nicole Hutchison, as usual, here on The Blitz. And we continue in a moment as Kyle will rejoin us. And in today's NFL, Bill Bates would be a linebacker, not a safety. Welcome back to The Blitz. Let's talk linebackers. Let's take a look at the linebacker depth chart. Earlier in the show, we talked about Jack Sanborn. Mentioned Kenneth Murray as well. You got some returners on this depth chart. Who stands out for you? Who do you have your eye on, Kyle?
Well, I think the number one thing is, are you going to see a second-year jump from guys like Maris Leofau in this room? And can you see a jump from a guy like Damone Clark as well? I've talked to Clark specifically, and he's been very excited about what he's seen from this new staff and how they have meshed with the safeties and how this linebacker core has worked with the defensive tackles. Of course, Matt Eberflus comes in as a defensive coordinator with a specialty in linebacker. He was the linebackers coach in Dallas previously. He'll have a special connection with these guys. So the guys that have been here before, like a Buddy Johnson, like a Maris Leofau, and then a guy like Damone Clark, who has been able to pick up multiple systems over multiple years, will have an advantage with Matt Eberflus at the helm. I think all these guys are excited to put the pads on in an Oxnard and actually go and hit somebody. But right now, the number one thing is learning the system and learning to be in the right place at the right time, and these guys have a leg up in doing so.
And you saw the asterisks by the name of DeMarvion Overshown, who had that devastating knee injury last season, and we got an update from DeMarvion this week.
It's going real good. I think it really couldn't be any better. Like, if it was better, I'd probably be out there playing right now. So where I'm at and my rehab and my process, it's like, you know, where I'm supposed to be plus some. So I know it's a process. It's something we're not rushing just because I look good. There's no need to rush the process. You know, I'm going to come back when I'm 100%, when I'm ready, when I know I can touch the field and, you know, not have to look down and worry about my knee.
Great to see that positive energy as usual from Overshown, and positive about his rehab is a great thing to see too.
Yeah, he said if there was anything about this injury that was on schedule, it was everything, if not ahead of schedule. Now, you got to keep in mind, and Britt Brown is one of the best in the NFL in terms of getting these guys back in time and making sure that they are hitting their marks from rehab. He tore all 3 ligaments in his knee, ACL, PCL, MCL. That's a long-term rehab assignment. So even if he is ahead of schedule, it's not like he's going to be week 1 ready. He'll probably start the year, if not a certainty, he'll start the year on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list. He'll have to work his way back into good favor with that knee. And he even said it in this interview. He feels like he could be active midway through the year, if not later in the year. And he even put it on Instagram that he would be active for the Thanksgiving matchup in Week 13 against the Kansas City Chiefs. DeMarvion Overshown, always been an optimist, always been somebody that has hit his marks from a rehab, but the second time that he's had a major knee injury like this, he's going to have to continue to hit those marks and make sure and get that knee back into 100% without rushing things. So it's going to be some time for Demo.
And doesn't he look good in that new uniform
Yes, he
number?
does.
All right, we wrap up the Blitz in just a moment. Take a
This week, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders lit up stages across Texas, visiting Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, Midland, and El Paso with their high-energy, family-friendly live show, Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders on Tour. Fans were treated to dazzling dance performances, including the iconic Thunderstruck routine, and got an exclusive behind-the-scenes look during a live Q&A with DCC Senior Director Kelly Finglass and head choreographer Judy Trammell. For the first time ever, audiences witnessed live on-stage solo auditions where they helped decide which hopefuls advanced to the final round at the Star in Frisco.
Nicole Hutchison wrapping up the tour of Texas for the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Hats off to them, visors off to them, and we leave you with OTA's week number 2 from here at the Star in Frisco.
It is post-June 1st now. I do want to mention maybe the biggest player who seems likely to be on the move after June 1st. That is Jaylen Ramsey. There are a lot of NFL eyes on this one because it's now extremely doable for Miami. His current cap hit is $16.6 million. The trade savings the Dolphins now get with the Ramsey move is just under $6 million. But the dead money's big in 2026. The Dolphins know that. They're kind of in this weird rebuilding, not rebuilding, trying to figure it out tier. The cash is a lot, $21.1 million. And I do think that $21 million in cash owed, I think it's even a bigger issue than I'd previously thought. The Rams have been so heavily linked, but they've got the cash if they want to. They've got the cap if they want to. But I think there is some hesitancy to lock in 1 year, 21.1, 2 years, over $42 million. That's a lot. So will the Dolphins eat some of the money? I don't think Dallas has any interest in taking on Ramsey at $21 million. Will the Dolphins eat like 4 of it to still save some money, and that gets it down under 20? That's probably still too much for Dallas, but maybe for a different NFL team it makes sense. I think that would help facilitate a trade. I think Miami could also take the approach of, why would we trade you right now? If we're not going to do it, we'll keep Jalen, who doesn't want to be here. Gets a little bit dicey, right? I still assume it's not the Dallas Cowboys. I still think a lot of the Dolphins reporting, you can go back to the John Smith stuff if you want, has been Dolphins leaks to drive up more of a market and get better trade compensation. We'll keep an eye on it until he gets dealt. It is a big NFL story, and hell, maybe the Eagles get crazy with it. It's a very classic Eagles move. Commanders too. We'll see what happens. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you guys are subscribed.